Going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here at Steen7904. That is the daily fantasy handle around the industry. It is 5:11 on the East Coast, 2:11 West Coast, 4:11 Tennessee time. Of course, it's the time of the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It's called Grinderslive. Joining me today, straight from where are you from? Parts unknown, Grant. You're on the road today. Where are you at precisely? Give me the GPS coordinates. I want to stalk you.
MGM will not tell you the room. 4th floor, MGM. Lost wages.
You're in the 4th. So wait, you won't tell me which room on the 4th floor? Like, have you been knocking every single one of them?
Yeah. Oh, there's only like 300 of them on the 4th floor.
I thought you were like a big shot. You don't get like a top 20 floor. Like you're in floor number 4.
Sunday after rodeo weekend, trying to get into a room quickly was more important than trying to get an upgrade. So yeah, I have a beautiful view of the roof. What is that out on the roof?
I don't know. Did you ever try that $20 handoff where you you give them $20 or some $20? I've seen videos on the old YouTube that say that.
I saw someone do that at the Vanderpump bar on Friday night. I'm like, that was smooth. Good for him. I'm like, if he gets in first, then fully for that.
Is that with the Vanderpump Rules? Is that the same world? I don't know. That's a show that the people like. Some people like. Okay.
Yeah, the fiance likes Bravo, so she wanted to go get rosé cake, Vanderpump rosé, and so we went over there after dinner.
You watch all those Real Housewives and all that good stuff?
I do not. She certainly does.
Grant, that's it. No more pleasantries. That's it. We got to cut it off because it's a 9-game slate in the association tonight. Do want to say hello to everybody who watch us on YouTube. We ask you to kindly join us over at the Discord channel. We're trying to get our YouTube commenters over now on the Rotogrinders Discord channel. Discord is free. How would I go about doing that? You go to rotogrinders.com/Discord. We have some premium Discord channels and we have some free Discord channels. Of course, we're not going to ask you to pay for premium. If you guys want premium, have at it. It's great. $10 off your first month of RG premium for just one sport, all the sports, however you want it. But if you're not premium, just anybody, you want to be browsing. You just want to see what's going on. Hit the NBA channel. That is free today. Ask your questions there. And Devin, producer extraordinaire, will be compiling those questions and joining us later on in the show, firing them off, whatever we did not cover, whatever you want us to elaborate on. Give us specifics as far as what site. Is it for cash? Is it for tournament, single entry, all that good stuff. Grant, you excited for tonight's slate?
Did you ask me a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently my internet's not stable. I thought it was yours.
But you didn't get the upgraded internet either? I thought you knew a guy.
I've got the upgraded internet.
Oh, unbelievable.
You two are killing me.
Yeah, this is all Devin's fault.
It was my fault. This is why we're like a minute or so late, because my internet was a bit tricky going live. I'm playing injured without my side monitor today. So if you're wondering why I'm a little bit off today, that is the reason. We're going to give it a go. We're doing it live. You can't just not do it. Grant, your thoughts as far as the slate as a whole, or do you just want to dive right on in and break it down game by game?
I mean, we can break it down game by game. I think most of the injuries that are of big note to me might not be as important to other people, but that's just the injuries we don't like. We really don't have a ton of injuries on this slate. We really don't have a ton of stuff we have to wait for. Obviously, Memphis is the biggest one. Okay, so it's not just me that is Jonesing at the mouth. I don't know if that's the right foaming at the mouth. There we go. That's it. At the thought of playing anyone from Memphis.
Do you like Desmond Bain today? You written him up on Scores and Odds, I think, every single day.
He's questionable.
You caught him a value play the other day. I was surprised you're even showing up because your boy Desmond Bain is actually a late addition to that injury report. We'll talk about it.
It's devastating. It was right after I went down to trying to place prop bets in Vegas is absolutely the worst compared to every other state. But luckily they give me a higher limit because I don't have to give them my ID half the time. So I could always go back and make like 4 prop bets for like do the same one over and over again for hundreds of dollars. So I can actually get more money in here, but it's a painful process. And I placed the Bain bet, and then 10 minutes later, he's questionable. I'm like, dang it.
You got to do that in person. You can't do it on the apps in your hotel room.
The app will limit me to $200.
I got you. So you got to put pants on.
Yeah. I mean, it's worth it me to put pants on. But yeah, it's just like, also, I don't know. I set up my MGM account years ago, and so I don't know if it. I couldn't sign in. I'm like, I'm not going to deal with this. It just feels like more action with that piece of paper.
Oh yeah,
you know?
It feels more official. It definitely feels more official. All right, and let's talk about it. I have an eye as far as what's going on, as far as who's in and who's out, and the Memphis situation. You mentioned Bain. It's a big one because Jaren Jackson's questionable with his knee. Steven Adams was upgraded to questionable with his ankle. We thought it was going to be like all the bigs out because Brandon Clark's out. Of course, John Moran is out. Charlotte is getting Terry Rozier back tonight. Luka Doncic already is out. Kyle Kuzma is out. Denver is kind of up in the air. Will Barton's questionable. Aaron Gordon's questionable, but we'll take that as it comes. First game on the slate is my least favorite team to talk about. Not even close. Sacramento versus Toronto, 221.5 is a total. The only guys that are out for Sacramento, just one person, Rashawn Holmes. He's got that eye, so he cannot play. As far as the Toronto side, Precious Achiuwa is still out for the health protocols. OG Anunoby, Kyle Birch is still out as well. So we're presuming that Chris Boucher will once again draw the start. Still probably not expensive enough. One of your value plays in the slate. Grant, I've looked at the Sacramento stuff. I pull up the court IQ. I try to figure out what they're doing game to game and Gentry. And, last game was a blowout. And then the reserves started playing good. So they kept the reserves out there. They added some new guys that didn't play in the first half and the second half. And they could play up to 12 or 13 dudes. They basically kicked out Terrence Davis out of the rotation. It's a mess, man. It's an absolute mess. There's Alex Len can play between 15 and 30 minutes. Bagley, same deal. Please, if Barnes gets 30 minutes, he's a nice play on DK at 5.1K, but I'm not confident that's going to happen. It can. Talking about the Kings, are you as befuddled as I am as far as Sacramento's rotations? Because I'm just kind of throwing my hands up and somebody's going to get there. Maybe Bagley? I don't know.
Yeah, I think Bagley and then Halliburton are my main 2 guys I want to play there. Barnes, yes, he's super cheap. If he ends up playing 35 minutes, then he could end up easily making value. He can end up crushing value here, but his minutes have been down, and I think they're just going to end up staying down. He's not really one of those guys. Like, honestly, we were mostly just going off the beginning of the season. Like, he was crushing, and he was doing really well, and he was really consistent. Barnes does this every single year. Like, he goes on a streak where he's great, and then he just goes downhill for a long period of time. He's a very streaky player. So I'm probably staying away from him at 5.1K. He's just going to be played way too much. Doesn't seem worth it. The minutes aren't really there. And even if the minutes were there, there's no guarantee that he's going to end up crushing value at 5.1K. So he's actually just a straight up cross off of me. I'm not going to argue with people playing him. There's a reason why he's going to be played a decent amount, but I'm staying away. Marvin Bagley and Halliburton are the 2 interesting ones. I mean, Bagley, his minutes have been all over the place, but 3.8K, you just kind of have to take a shot. I mean, he can put up 35 plus points any given night. Like, the guy is talented, even though he hasn't been great before. Like, with Gentry in the head coaching spot instead of Walton, he's been getting more minutes. And so we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I think 3.8K is a spot where you can definitely end up playing him tonight. Fox is fine at 8.2K. Davion Mitchell's fine dart for a throw at 3.7K, although he doesn't really make the cut too much. Everyone else I'm kind of just staying away from. I don't trust Len's minutes. I don't trust Thompson's minutes. But Tyrese Halliburton, like, how often do you get a guy at like 5 or under 6K that people aren't on that has legit 50-point upside. You don't get that too often. His downside is not great. His floor is not good, but he's only coming in at 12% ownership today. I think that he's definitely.
I wouldn't say
spot.
50-point upside, but you don't need 50-point upside. I don't agree with that thought.
He does have 50. How does he not have 50-point upside?
I don't know. Has he done it once this year? Maybe once.
He's done it once in the last 3 games.
Okay. Well, okay, but like he's
done it twice in the last 8 games.
For what it's worth, our ceiling projections have him at 41.21 as far as
yes, that's 80th percentile. 95th percentile is around 50. So like that's just how projections work. Like 80th percentile is 41. So he does legit have 50-point upside at 5.7K. His ceiling is pretty high. He can just get it done in any given game. But I'm mostly considering him in bringbacks with Toronto, because Toronto's the much more interesting side, in my opinion.
Yeah. And Bagley's the guy that, is a DMP CD pretty much the whole year until we saw Gentry come in. And there are thoughts out there they want to try to showcase him and trade him. And, he's a lottery pick that's just gone awry and hasn't worked out. And his father's complaining about his playing time. And it's a big old mess. And Sacramento's one of those, disaster organizations. And I don't know what they could possibly get for Bagley. What are you doing over there?
Drinking water.
Do they not have cups in Las Vegas? Is that not the thing?
You're supposed to drink a gallon of water a day. It's El Dorado. It's natural spring.
Is that for the start of the day? Is that you're on pace right now?
No.
You probably opened it yesterday.
Yeah. No, I mean, I try and drink a gallon of water a day, but yeah, I tend to bring in like 4 or 5 gallons of water into any place I go into in Vegas.
It's a good move, actually. It's actually a really, really solid
I mean, the
move.
smartest move is DoorDash some taco stand to your door and have them bring, because you can stop by for free at 7-Eleven because they have a partnership with them, and you can get them to bring you several gallons of water.
Talk to me about the Toronto side here. I didn't realize I didn't know that was, I never heard of taco stand when they have a partnership with 7-Eleven.
No, DoorDash does.
DoorDash. Okay. Our ownership projections are really liking FanDuel specific. Pascal Siakam at 31%, Trent at 31%. We do like Bagley as well at 20%. Jumping over to DK. It's a little bit, it's I guess not as high. Obviously, we talk about Harry Barnes at 21%. We're projecting for 33 minutes. I just think that's fragile. Certainly he can play 33. And we're projecting 38 for Trent because, Toronto, they'll run their starters into the ground. And for that reason, 18% for Trent. Boucher, we're looking at 16%. Talking about the Toronto guys, your favorite players as far as the Raptors.
I mean, Boucher is going to be moderately chalky. I think on both sides, he's sitting pretty cheap on both of them. Without Precious, without what's his name? I can't remember his name. It doesn't matter. Birch, that was it.
OG Novi.
Well, yeah, OG, yeah. But I mean, his minutes are more dependent on the centers. He should have been playing roughly half a game, 22 to 27 minutes, most likely, in this spot here. That everyone else is getting just a ton of run. Like it's always great when we see our minutes projections for all other 4 starters at 38 minutes. It's just a beautiful thing. It's how what you want in fantasy basketball. So I like all of them. Like I like stacking up this game quite a bit. If I had to rank them, it's probably Gary Trent, followed by Barnes, followed by Siakam, followed by Van Vliet over on DK. And then it's pretty obvious that it's, I think, Trent and Siakam over on FanDuel. But I like all of them. I like this game stack. It's why I like Haliburton on the other side, because I think if this game stays close, it's either him or Fox that are going off for a pretty massive game. So we know that these guys are going to play tons of minutes if the game is close. So play whichever ones you want. Don't play too many of them, but play 1 or 2 of these guys and stack up this game and bring it back with Bagley and Haliburton. You actually have a fairly cheap game stack. If you want to throw Boucher in there, go ahead. But this is just a beautiful spot going up against Sacramento, who plays a huge pace, really not great defensively. Second highest total on the board. Just stack it up.
I would say Haliburton's got the most solidified minutes as far as Sacramento, all those jumbled rotations. But I think he's the one most likely to be stable as far as his minutes, and probably my favorite run back. If not him, it's Bagley. I do agree. I do agree with you. Let's move on. 9-game slate. Miami Heat in Cleveland. 208 is the total. Miami is a 5-point dog here. Man, Cleveland has been Really, really good. They're also healthy. There's nobody injured on Cleveland outside of, you're not going to count Sexton, but he's not playing. Of course, Miami is without their 1-2 combination of Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Caleb Martin went in the help putter calls as well. So Lowry specifically on FanDuel is a really, really good price. I mean, you can make your own. He's 6.9K on FanDuel for whatever reason.
Nice.
That's just too cheap. Yeah. This feels also like a good matchup for Dwayne Dedmon, where they're going to need his size, they're going to need his girth against, the Cleveland bigs. Jared Allen, we talk about. Mobley's a big boy. It's just that, when you break it down, there's a lot of good center plays. We talked about Boucher already. Jokic, of course, if you want to spend up. On DK, I really think it's almost, I haven't ran any optimals just yet, to be honest, but I would say that it's going to be hard to not see two centers popping up in my lineup. It feels like a two center night for sure. And then there's a big opportunity cost on sites like FanDuel. Well, Yahoo, you can run two as well. But as far as Miami, and we've seen Tyler Hero kind of disappointing. In theory, there's still some upside to what he's been doing out there. I presume he's not going to start again. Doesn't mean he's still not going to play 32, 33 minutes. Once he comes in, he's basically in. Talk to me about this game. What excites you, if anything?
I mean, nothing's terribly exciting. I think Lowry is probably the most exciting, especially over on FanDuel, where he is just far too cheap. I mean, without Butler and Bam in the offense, Lowry can do a lot in that spot. Not a great matchup going up against Cleveland, but he's been putting up 45 plus in each of the last few games without Bam and Butler. Price tag's just not quite high enough. So even in a low total game where it should be a little tough defensively, I think Lowry offers you some upside on DK, but is very good value over on FanDuel. Outside of that, really not a lot to love. I mean, Dedmon's price is probably where it should be. People are going to be chasing that 44-point game from the other night. So I don't know if I really want to use him. Hero just hasn't been getting it done as much as I'd like to with his price tag sitting where it should be. I think he's fine, but he's not really a great play. He can go off for a decent night, but I think you're better off going with Lowry. PJ Tucker is standing out as the second best value in our projections. I don't want to play PJ Tucker. I'm not going to play
I don't
PJ
either.
Tucker.
I did play him the other night, and it did pretty well. But we know we concede he does not have a 50-point. He's not like a Tyrese Halliburton. He does not have a 50-point ceiling.
He does not. He most certainly does not. Duncan Robinson is the interesting one.
Well, it's just like you're betting. Is he going to make his threes? Is he not going to make his threes? And that's the bet.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Yeah. No, I mean the smart play is what I was doing, and I bet that he's going to get over 2.5 threes. I wonder if that's on the board tonight. I think Heroes dropped to 1.5. Vegas does not have 3-point props, surprisingly enough.
You probably can get him like the Superbook or something like that, like different depending on where you're going. But
MGM,
I guess doesn't have it.
MGM, I mean, Caesars has like no props. MGM is very limited in how many props they have.
It's annoying. That's like your favorite thing to bet, is it not?
Yes, that's the only thing I really bet outside of live betting.
On DK, like really none of the Cavs are popping as far as ownership. Like the biggest number is Rubio at 10.3%. We're seeing Hero at 7.6. Lowry is the most popular at 17% on DK, but like we kind of referenced there, FanDuel, the FanDuel price is really, really good. Some would say nice. 46.2% is the ownership on FanDuel. That's really, really solid. Of course, Brunson is going to be the guy we'll talk about. He's the first player probably putting your lineups today. The Brunson burner, you're going to run out 2 guards or 4 on FanDuel with their multi-position eligibility.
He's got some good props over on PrizePicks too.
Hey, you know what? Did you actually? Devin was going to show this off. I know you gave some PrizePicks winners for the people. Give them some winners, and I'll give them the promo code afterwards.
Christian Wood over 17.5 points. Garrison Matthews over 12.5 points. Sorry, moved to 13.5 most sportsbook. Marcus Morris over 13.5 points. Desmond Bain, again, you can wait until he's going to play or not, but this is a fantastic prop if he does. Over 2.5 3-pointers. And by far the best prop over at PrizePicks is Jason Tate over 3.5 assists. He's been averaging like 6 over the last 9 games, something like that. I don't know, a lot.
KPJ's out, so that he's getting a bump.
Yeah. So he's been crushing without KPJ, and it's normal. Like it's as much as minus 150 on some websites. So yeah, get in there.
By the way, I'm not sure if you got the prompt from PrizePicks. Oh, and hey, if you guys haven't used PrizePicks just yet, use the promo code Grinders with your first deposit. 100% deposit bonus up to $100. If you have deposited, have been playing on PrizePicks like I have, they're doing like a 12 days of Christmas or something like that. And today they sent something like if I got a $200 bonus for depositing $500. basically. And there's increments if you want to deposit 100 or 200 or 300. Just check out your email or whatever. Log on the site if you haven't logged on in a few days. Just going to throw out to the people because hey, I'm happy with a $200 deposit bonus. Take that any day.
I always take free money.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not too proud. Yeah, and the Dedmon thing is like I think he gets a few extra minutes, and a lot of it's going to be probably dependent upon Memphis. Like if Adams and Jackson, if they both play all of a sudden, then the Memphis stuff's going to kind of go away. Which we'll talk about that soon enough. Because one of the biggest value plays on the board was one of the cheapies there for Memphis that may just kind of get thrown away. We'll see. NBA, this kind of stuff is fluid. You got anything else as far as Miami, Cleveland? It's, the Cleveland side, you can always play Mobley if you want to in a tournament, but nothing really popping. If you're running 150 for sure, get him in your pool. But that's basically it for me. It sounds like that's it for you as well.
Yeah.
Golden State, Indiana, 213 is the total. Golden State is a 4-point favorite here. Iguodala, the only guy out for Golden State, not a big deal. Indiana, they may get Justin Holiday back from conditioning. I think it was the COVID protocols and Brad Wanamaker's ill, but really nothing terribly significant. If Holiday plays, I presume he will steal most of his minutes or chunk of minutes from Duarte. Not that I don't think you're playing Duarte anyway. This is a weird game because Golden State's a weird team.
Nothing outside of Steph.
Well, okay, so tell me what you want to play 11-4 for DK on Steph? Like, there's no way I'm paying that.
I don't want to.
Wait, so you want nothing outside of?
I don't want to pay that much, but because I'm paying that much, he's likely going to have hugely suppressed ownership. He's going for the record tonight. Embiid and Jokic are both going to be very much overowned. You talked about how much you want to end up playing two centers in every single lineup. Steph has the only possibility of really crushing those guys' potential ceilings. So Steph
Giannis.
is, yeah, sorry, and Giannis, and I guess Trey, honestly. Like, out of those 5 superstars on the slate, Steph is going to be by far the lowest owned. He's not popping into projection system, which is fine. He hasn't really been paying things too much lately, but there's only a 3.5 point spread. It's projected to stay close, and Steph likely going to be chucking the entire time because he's trying to get that record. He's probably trying to get it early. He's been putting up a ton of shots.
We keep saying this. We keep saying this. He's going to get the record. He's going to get the record. And of course, he's going to get it soon enough, right? But like, why does he have to get it in Indiana? Does he even care? I don't know. Is that it's going to happen like eventually, and if not tonight, the next night or the next night. What is he like 8 behind? I don't know the official number.
6.
I've lost track. 6. Is there any special reason why he would want to do it in Indiana outside of just he's trying to win basketball games?
He likes to win basketball. He likes to shoot basketball.
And he's good at it. And to speak to the ownership, I can go ahead and give a refresh. Geez, my page is kind of closed on me. I think I saw it was 4% projected on DK, and
yep,
4% on FanDuel. And I think FanDuel, he's 10-3 at least. 10-3 is a little bit more. Of course, DK, you want that bonus, so he's going to score more DK points, 3-point bonus. But you're getting a discount as well. The whole Golden State team is just kind of priced where they should be. They run a lot of dudes. It's just hard to get excited about anybody. And as far as Indiana, you could place a bonus. I like the Brogdon price on FanDuel at 7.3K, or ownership reflects that at 23%. He's in the mix for me for sure as far as like top guards, point guards specifically. What do you think as far as the Pacers? If you're going to play Curry, I assume you're running it back with at least one guy on the Pacers.
No, I don't need to. I'd like to. But I mean, if you want to run it back with Brogdon or Sabonis, I mean, even if Curry goes nuts, there's no guarantee that this game isn't going to stay close. I mean, bringbacks are almost a requirement in any situation. Something like Houston tonight, or if you're playing Houston players, generally you want to bring it back as a potential blowout. Steph can go absolutely crazy in this game, still be a 5-point game.
By the way, Justin Holiday ruled out. So, not a huge deal, but that saves Duarte if you're going to consider playing Duarte. But I don't think I'm playing him. Anyway, Wanamaker available to play as well for what it's worth. We got a 9-game slate. You got anything else that's of notes or worth saying here is, again, nobody on DK is projected for more than 6.4% as far as ownership. That would be Brogdon. It's a good game, like probably fun to watch because it's Golden State and Steph's a lot of fun to watch for sure, but it doesn't seem to be a very appealing DFS game. Is that that sounds like where you're at as well?
Yeah.
Shall we move on?
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is another one. This is funny. This is another one. Great game to watch. You tell me how interesting it is for a DFS perspective. 223. It's a big old total. Boston at home versus Milwaukee. It's high and it's tight. Boston 1-point favorite here. They are expected to get Jaylen Brown back with his hamstring. I presume there will be somewhat of a minutes limit. Nothing official set out there, but I cannot imagine they just throw him like 33 minutes after a hammy for a while. Marcus Smart expected to play with his illness, and Josh Richardson out for health protocols. Milwaukee, George Hill is out for conditioning purposes. Old man Wesley Matthews out for his health protocols, and Boogeyman, DeMarcus Cousins is available with his hip. Giannis Antetokounmpo, another guy that's going to be not that heavily owned, as far as I can tell. We know he can absolutely break a slate for sure. A big price on DK, big price on FanDuel as well. Let me see what our projection is. We're looking at 7.1% ownership projection for Giannis on FanDuel. Man, that is a low number, and I bet it's not much higher on DK.
10.
It is 10.1% on DK. The tricky thing is, and like we'll talk about a lot of construction, like Jokic, I think is a better play than Giannis. They're both great, 1 and 1A, but centers are just where the value may be at. We talked about Boucher, we talked about potentially Dedmon, potentially what happens in Memphis.
Who's going to be the two chalkiest players on the slate?
Well, Brunson, I assume. Oh well, let's see. I'm 1 for
Reggie.
1. Yeah, I don't know if I buy that. But yeah,
5.9K without Paul George. He's having like a 36% usage. He's playing a boatload of minutes. That game is currently sitting at a 3.5-point spread. Yes, Reggie Jackson will be one of the probably the second chalkiest player on the slate. Although
that's
right
DK
behind
specific,
him,
by the way.
Yeah. And then Amari Brooks. So you have 3 of the 4 chalkiest players at the guard position today. Like you say, you want to pay down for center. Yes, there's some. I'm not arguing. There are some very good options at center today, but yes, you can only play 2 of those. You can play multiple guards, but there are the 3 chalkiest players all at the guard position tonight. So by that logic, that's kind of why Steph is going to be so low owned. That's why Trae Young is going to be lower owned than he probably should be at 17.1% going up against Houston. So I know that centers sound good, but there's more options at center. Guard, there's 3 incredible options.
Well, they're all expensive too. You're talking about lineup construction decisions that are kind of forks in the road that are completely change the construction of your lineup.
Brunson's not that expensive. Jackson's not that expensive. Brooks is not that expensive.
Well, I was thinking of Steph and I was thinking Trae Young. You kind of reference Steph is the one.
Same thing as
Steph changes everything.
and Embiid. Yeah.
And that is if you're looking at your projections, if you put Steph in your lineup, he probably knocks down your lineup at 5 points off.
7 points.
Okay, yeah. Who cares, right? You're running tournaments, and the optimal is not projecting Steph to only put up. It's projecting 45 points, 48 points, somewhere around there.
Yeah, if you're going off the optimal, and you're pretty much just swapping off a center. Well, unless you were putting Jokic in at your utility and just swapping it over to Steph, it's about 11 points off the optimal. We currently have Steph projected for 11 points less than Jokic, which I think is probably more than it should be. But yeah, you get one.
I think our projections changed, by the way, for Memphis. I'm assuming that's what happened because I'm sorting through dollar for dollar stuff, and now we're assuming Adams in, we're assuming Bane's in, and Triple J in as well, and that's why Tillman, his projection has tumbled. But earlier in the day, he was looking at one of the best plays in the slate, 3.4K on DK. And with the news coming in that Adams is questionable, Triple J is questionable, we had to take a stand and we project him in. We generally lean in unless we feel strongly that they're not going to play. So Tillman is going to go back to basically his normal role. So that's kind of one of the pieces because he was center only. And that's kind of what I was basing off what my center thought process of. And that still could play out. But Steven Adams is a tough dude. If they get upgraded, he gets upgraded to questionable. I assume he's going to play, but you never know. That is an 8:00 game. Stay tuned as far as that. We're talking about Milwaukee and Boston. With Brown being back, there's a hit to Tatum. There's a hit just across the board. The Dennis Schroeder and guys like that. I just can't imagine rostering Schroeder. Smart's got a pretty good price. I'll say that. So I think he's kind of playable, I suppose. But really,
there are 3 guys that are playable in this game.
Well, it's Tatum, Smart, and Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yep, that's it. We don't need to spend much time. It's going to be close. You can bring it back with Tatum and Giannis and just be good. Like this game is close and high scoring. It's going to be those two guys that are doing a lot of work. Smart is a little bit too cheap. I still think he offers some upside, but yeah, it's really just Tatum and Giannis. Brown coming back in here. Giannis, like they keep all the other guys always priced up too much for when Giannis is in there. So it's not just an automatic like play Drew and play Middleton. If Giannis ends up getting ruled out, kind of the same situation we get in Denver with Jokic. It's just Barton and Gordon are always priced up. That's how a lot of these sites do it now, or at least DraftKings does it with a lot of these teams, where star players being set isn't going to entirely like destroy the slate in some circumstances.
Reminder for those that are watching us on YouTube, hit that like button. We'd appreciate that. And if you look in the chat, you're looking to ask questions and you're saying, where's the chat at? The chat has been moved to the Rotogrinders Discord. How do you find that? Rotogrinders.com/Discord. We have premium channels for premium members, but like it's free. This is a free, just go to the NBA channel and you will find it. Ask your question there. Devin will come on later on the show, ask us those questions. Make sure to give us details. The more details, the better. Don't just say this guy or that guy. Let us know what site. That's helpful. If it's for tournaments, if it's for cash, that's helpful as well.
And just to specify, I misled a little bit in the email, Dean. We are in the NBA Daily channel. That's the free one for everyone to join. So we'll see you in there.
Thank you for that, Devin. I appreciate it. All right. So it's fun game, right? Milwaukee, Boston, but like that's it. We're moving on.
Yep.
All right, Houston and Atlanta. This could be a game that DFSers love, even more for sure. 227 is a total. That is a big old number. Atlanta is an 8.5-point favorite here as far as who's in and who's out. On the Houston side, we talked about it earlier. Kevin Porter Jr. is still out with his thigh. Daniel House out with his ankle. Atlanta, nothing really new with their wings. Hunter's still out. Obviously, Bogdanovic still out. You referenced Trae Young. Good matchup here against Houston, obviously. A good matchup for Capella. Good matchup for Collins. Even Herter. I know how much you hate Kevin Herter, but it's a good matchup for him as well. What do you have for me as far as the Atlanta side?
Starting off the home team. I like it.
Did I throw you off? Do I
Yes.
like not really realize I usually start with the road team? I don't.
Almost
That's not something I
always start
do
with the road
consciously.
team.
My bad.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a few different. I mean, it's going up against Houston. Houston's a terrible defensive team. They run at a huge pace. Like the only thing worrisome here is the 10.5-point spread, which is always a concern with Houston getting blown out. But lately, they've actually been playing a lot better basketball. They've been keeping game closer. They've been winning games a lot more than they were at the beginning of the season. So I think this game could end up staying close. I mean, anytime you get this go to matchup with someone staying close, like Trae Young has been on an absolute heater recently, just been crushing it. And the matchup versus Houston is a perfect spot for him to just keep shooting. He's one of the top plays on the entire slate. John Collins, never someone I really enjoy playing that much. He's 7.2K, but he comes into this game in pretty good form. Matchup is just great. Capella, he can end up doing something. TLC should be playing a decent amount of minutes with everything going on here. Sitting at 3.2K, probably a decent value play on this slate. But the more interesting side, I think, is the Houston side, strangely enough.
My issue with TLC is, we talk about fantasy points per minute. It's all about fantasy points. How many minutes you actually play? Not all minutes are created equal. His minutes are created poorly. 0.65 fantasy points per minute. And like he's their best defensive wing, so he grabs minutes that way. But and I don't know how much you need that. He is 3.2 on DK, and he can kind of eke his way to like 22 points, I suppose. I don't know what he's another guy, not like Tyrese Halliburton. He does not have what is his ceiling? It's not 50 points. What's DLC's ceiling? 28?
25, 30.
20. I was being generous. Revenge game for Capella too. Sure, why not? Who's your favorite amongst those bigs? Collins or Capella? Collins easier to roster because he's got that multi-position eligibility.
Christian, what is the answer?
Forward spot. Say it again.
Christian, what is the answer?
Well, okay, he plays for the Rockets. The tricky thing with him is, I hate that DK price at 9.3. He's 8.4 on FanDuel, which is fine.
What's his ceiling?
His ceiling? Like a ceiling?
Yes,
like
ceiling.
He could put up 60.
Yeah, and no one's playing him. No one.
You got to catch them on the right night, and obviously they can't get blown out. Like all that stuff's kind of baked into the thought process. 1.2 fantasy points per minute on DK.
The main thing is he hasn't had
FanDuel.
Outside of the game where he got injured, the last 10 games he's up over 40 points, or it looks like 39.25 points. Like he's been doing really well. He's been basically a lock for a double-double most nights. He's been a lock for 20 points most nights. Like, I bet the over on his points, and if I were in Colorado right now, I would be betting his 20-plus point prop at, I think, 152, and his 25-plus point prop at plus 510. So if you're in a legal state, go bet those. Like, this game can end up staying close. He's getting 20 every single game. I think there's more upside people or here than people believe. And yes, he is priced up at 9.3K over on DraftKings, but I'm still really willing to play him. Like, he's a very solid tournament play, especially in a game stack.
Last 10 games, he did hit over 60 DK points twice. Predictably, the two games, like, oh yeah, those opponents make a lot of sense. OKC was one of them, and Charlotte was the other. Both those make, I mean, that just checks out, right?
Yeah.
And it was a 31-minute performance against OKC because they routed them. They won by what? Well, no, not a complete rout. They won by 14, 13 by UCF math. All right. What about, we got to talk about Armani, right? Because the tricky thing with him is we've seen some games where he starts, some games where he doesn't start. And the strange thing is, like, in starting instead of him, it has been like Daniel Tice. It's like this big dude or this little dude. It's like, okay. And Houston, who knows what they're up to. But Tice starts and he doesn't come back. He just kind of disappears. He pulls an Alex Len many times. So even not starting last game, I'm pretty sure he did not start last game. I can fire up the court IQ, but fairly certain he didn't start last game and he still played 30 plus minutes. 4.8K on DK. He's been fine. He's been basically filling in for KPJ as far as his fantasy points per minute in the season. Not spectacular, but not bad. 0.86 on DK, 0.83 on FanDuel, and 4.8 on DK is pretty appealing. I think that's usable. And then Eric Gordon, in theory, could be usable as well. I know you like Matthews. You mentioned him. He's another guy that's super reliant on his.
I'm more like him on his points, or he's super reliant on his shooting. Like, I just keep betting the over on his points and 3-pointers every night. And I just keep printing money, and it's not stopping tonight. It was funny that his points prop has been sitting at 11.5 for like 9 games, and he's hit it like 9 games in a row. Now it's finally up to 13.5, which is still a little bit low of where it should be, but I think there's a spot where he hits the over. But I'm less interested in him in DFS. I just don't hate him in any game tonight, especially as part of game stack. But I think the clear rank of guys I want to play on Houston is Wood, Brooks, and Tate.
Yeah. I mean, that's guys I want to play, but when I consider salary, I'm probably moving Wood down. Like, it's just, I don't dislike him. I think he's fine, but just lineup construction, I'm more likely to
Wood's
have
going
Tate
down. They have pills for that.
You got a guy?
You got a guy.
Yeah. Talk to me about Tate before we move on, because I think his price is still workable. Like, he's a guy who played it like around 5K or so earlier in the year. Now he's up to 6, but then also that his roles changed a little bit. Like, I know you talk about liking his assists more tonight in the absence of KBJ.
What's his ceiling?
Well, he had that one game where you can always point to the one game. He had that one game he put up. That was the game where Wood and KBJ got hurt. To be fair, they both got hurt, and he put up like 70, like something insane.
69.5.
Unbelievable. Some would say nice. Yeah. I mean, we can't expect that, obviously. So you don't need that when you consider.
No, he's strictly a guy in a game stack. Like Brooks and Wood, I'll play on their own. Tate, I'm only playing in a game stack. Like, I need to stay close, and I need it to be a high scoring game in order for that to happen. But Brooks and Wood are plays on their own. Tate is just fine. He's not great. He's not terrible. He's fine.
If I make a lineup and Tate's the last guy in that would make everything work, I'm not going to blow it up. I'll play Tate, but I hear what you're saying. Like, I'm not going to say, well, I can't play Tate as my last guy to make this stuff work. I'll play it. Yeah. Is that, you okay with that thought process?
Yeah.
All right. We got to pick up the pace a little bit because you're not going to believe it. We fell in behind as far as time. Philadelphia and Memphis, 209.5 is the total. This one, who knows what we're going to say, because it's all kind of up in the air. Philadelphia is a 4-point favorite as far as their side. They are fully healthy. Philadelphia, fully healthy. Memphis, quite the opposite. We've referenced a couple of times your boy Desmond Bane's questionable with a foot. Triple J's got a knee, so he's questionable. Steven Adams has an ankle, so he's questionable. Brandon Clark, we know, is out. Of course, we know Ja is out and Zaire Williams is out. I mean, you want to just drop all the if-thens? Like, I mean, if
so
Steven
I'm
Adams
just going
and
to
Triple J don't play, well, go ahead.
Yeah, it's pretty much if Steven Adams doesn't play Tillman. If Steven Adams and Triple J both don't play, Tillman's one of the best plays, maybe the best play on the board outside of Brunson. Until he's a fine play, maybe Kyle Anderson gets some extra run. Both of them are in play. If Bain ends up missing, big bump to Brooks and Jackson if they end up playing. If Bain and Jackson end up missing, big bump to Dylan Brooks, big bump to Tyus Jones, big bump to pretty much everyone because you're getting rid of the three. You will now be without the three top usage guys, 3 of the 4 top usage guys on the entire team: Morant, Bain, Jackson. I like Bain if he plays, especially if Jackson doesn't play. I think Bain has still got some upside there. I know a lot of people don't think he does, but I mean, he's got 45, 50 point upside realistically. Like, we haven't seen him get a 50-point game. He's come close, but in the 5, 6, 7 games or whatever it is without what's his name, Morant, he's had some pretty big ones. So if Jackson ends up sitting, I really like Bain. But yeah, it's pretty much like it's kind of similar situation, lesser so though, to Minnesota, where there's Russell, there's Edwards, there's Towns. Like, those 3 eat up the usage. So if any one of them misses, big bump to the other 2. And these guys are probably not priced as high as they should be. So of the big 3, if one of them ends up sitting, you play the other 2. And of the big men,
what if Triple J plays?
If Triple,
yeah, he's 6'4" on FanDuel. That's a pretty appealing price if he goes.
Even at 7'3" over on DK, I don't mind. I mean, yeah, I know it's foul trouble is a tough one, especially if Embiid ends up playing. Although I think Tillman would start for Adams anyways, and they might end up throwing him on Embiid, but I don't know that for certain. But Jackson is in play if Bain ends up sitting. If Bain and Jackson both end up playing, then I think Bain's my favorite of the 3, but I'm not overly high on any of them. And I do like the over on Bain points and Bain 3-pointers.
Cam Reddish will not have a minutes limit off the bench. I don't hate him as a dart. He's like 3-2 on DK. I don't hate that.
The problem is there's just so much value today.
Yeah. Again, but he's a guy that can get hot and he can score 20 actual points in the bucket. He also can like put up a 7 DK point. Like, that's not surprising either. Smart is probable as suspected. Jaylen Brown is actually going to start. Have not seen anything as far as his minutes limit. The Philadelphia side, I think if Adams plays, I would tick down Embiid a little bit. If Adams doesn't play, he's going to have his way. If anybody they throw on him, Embiid seems like an interesting pivot away from Jokic, away from Giannis as far as big spends. But, he's just not as good as Jokic.
Just Embiid. Move on. We got to be quick.
Yeah, you could pay Toby Harris in theory, but I'm probably not. It's not a terrible idea, but they're fully healthy and he's kind of priced where he should be. Charlotte, Dallas, 216.5 is the total. Charlotte, 2.5-point dog. We talked about Charlotte getting some dudes back, or at least Terry Rozier. That's enough. And just the way the prices have adjusted, since all these guys playing 40 minutes or so. PJ Washington also expected to play as well too, and they have Nick Richards expected to play too. So they will have enough bodies where I don't think any of the guys in Charlotte are very appealing, just the way those, the prices
they're all too expensive.
What about Dallas, though? Because Dallas, of course, without Luka, that means that the Brunson burner, Jalen Brunson, best play in the slate. It's going to be crazy chalky. We're looking at 60-some% is our projection, but that's fully justified in my opinion. 63% on DK. The price is just way, way too low. We know how he thrives in the absence of Luka. Should play a pile of minutes. 64% on FanDuel as well. Is there any reason not to play Brunson?
Ownership. That's it.
What about Porzingis?
Porzingis is still a great play. I think he's more fadeable than Brunson is. He's still a very good play, don't get me wrong, but I think with his ownership coming in where he's at, he can still, even without Luka in the game, put up a dud at his price tag of 8.0K. Hardaway, I think, is an interesting play here. I mean, this is going up against Charlotte, which is why I'm probably just going to stomach the Porzingis ownership. It's Charlotte. That's the main thing. They're running at the second fastest pace, and they're the worst defensive team in the NBA. It is what it is. Hardaway, I think, offers some upside. Could end up playing a few more minutes, or should end up playing a few more minutes. He's going to take more shots without the biggest usage guy in the NBA in Luka playing here. So
is that true? Luka's number 1 in usage?
I think he's number 2. Could be wrong.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, I don't know, but that it could be.
Yeah, I'm looking it up because it looks like Luke is number one among qualified players. The real number one
sure.
is Isaiah Todd.
How many minutes has he played?
14.
Okay.
And Miles McBride is number 3.
I don't know what team Miles McBride's on.
You don't know? Sure you don't know about the great Miles McBride? 13 minutes for the New York Knicks.
Did not know that. Yeah, I should have known that
actually. But yeah, just play them all. Like it's the best match on the board, and again, the biggest usage poll on the slate.
Love Brunson, Porzingis for sure, and like I agree. THJ, like you said, the matchup and the pace, in the absence of Luka certainly makes him interesting. DFS is a hard guy just because he's just sort of is what he is, right? But in theory, there's a few more possessions to get a couple more boards, couple more steals, that kind of thing. But hard to get excited about anybody else. WCS is still out for Dallas, but not a big deal, obviously. Let's move on. Washington, Denver, 215.5 is a total. Denver is a 4-point favorite. Washington, without the services they're without Kyle Kuzma. He's out for health protocol reasons. Denver, as always, a lot going on. Rivers is still out with COVID. JaMychal Green is he's doubtful with his ankle. Aaron Gordon, I think this one popped up midday with his back is questionable, and Will Barton is questionable with an illness. I mean, Jokic is Jokic, and Jokic is going to smash. He's $12K. He's expensive, salary cap, and all that. But I'm trying. I'm going to try to get some Jokic because he's just so amazing. We'll talk to you about Denver and Jokic, and like, how concerned are we with if-thens as far as Barton and Gordon and Green? It's weird. I don't know how much I care about that stuff.
Oh, really? The biggest lover of the bone zone doesn't care?
I guess where would he get elevated to is kind of my question. I was looking at the if-then earlier, and I think we had that in there. So yeah, this is if Barton is out, but it's nothing to do with Gordon because we don't know about Gordon. But if Barton's out, we have Bones Highland getting like a 4-point bump projected to like 20 DK points, but it would get even higher. I would presume if Gordon is out as well.
Yeah,
that's 2 ifs, but a lot of speculation here. We saw Reed start the other night, which was interesting, but hard to get excited.
Yeah, I mean it is. But like if Gordon and Barton are both out, I think Zeke becomes a little bit interesting. Could get a few more points. He's a decent point per minute producer. Bones is a little bit more interesting. But outside of that, it's still just Jokic. I mean, he's doing everything. That guy's good at basketball.
He's incredible. Yeah. What is his odds for a triple double tonight? Like 2-1, something like that.
I know if I was in Denver.
Yeah. Najee's been 0.85 fantasy points per minute in the season. Bones at 0.96. So if he gets a little bit of run, I mean, obviously it's a later game, 9:00. So you might have some of your slots already filled up, and you really can't even swap out. You got to kind of plan ahead.
I can go play slots after this.
Yes, because you're in what city again?
Lost wages.
Yeah. The Washington side, they are without Kyle Kuzma. Does this excite you as far as the other players are Washington? I guess
no. I mean, it's Dinwiddie
a little bit, but yeah,
Dinwiddie and Beal. That's kind of it. Beal is a little bit too cheap without Kuzma at 8.4K, and Dinwiddie is a little bit too cheap at 5.2K. But neither one of them stand off the page as great plays on the slate.
We saw Abdia start the other night, 3.5K on DK, and he like 0.79 fantasy points per minute. He's playable, right? But you're not thrilled. Maybe in that
not thrilled on a different slate. I'd be thrilled. Not on this slate.
A 1-game slate, a showdown slate.
I'm like a 3-game slate.
Yeah. The Hammer. Do fire off your questions again, and if you guys are joining us late, if you're not aware, where's the YouTube chat? YouTube chat's been moved to rotogrinders.com/discord. rotogrinders.com/discord. You do not need to be a premium member to be able to jump in there and fire off your question there on the NBA channel. No, wait, it's the NBA. Oh, I'm gonna need Devin in this one again. He just told me in my ear.
NBA Daily channel. NBA. And I'm not even a moderator on this. How am I not a moderator? I'm the most responsible person at RG.
That's debatable. Devin, that's not true, right?
I have no comment.
See, he doesn't want to make you feel bad, Dean, because I am the most responsible.
Why would I feel bad? Oh, because it's saying that you're more responsible than me in a roundabout way.
Yes.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I don't. We don't have time to get into the debate. Phoenix versus the Clippers, 211.5 is the total. Phoenix is a 3.5-point favorite. Of course, we know the Phoenix side. Booker is still out with his hamstring. DeAndre Ayton is he was ill, questionable. He didn't play last game. We saw JaVale McGee hit his upside. Jesus. If you were willing to take that risk, you absolutely got paid off on it. I think there's a pretty decent chance that Ayton comes back from his illness, but we'll see. Stay tuned. And again,
someone was asking about in the chat. I think it's 60% he comes back, maybe 65.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was at practice for what it's worth, but as far as the Clippers side, of course, we have Batum, who's questionable with his ankle, and Paul George, he's got an elbow. He's doubtful, and Paul George is out. You kind of touched on it earlier. That elevates players like Reggie Jackson, like Terrence Mann, like Marcus Morris. Zubac would certainly benefit, especially in the absence of Batum as well. Even the Nardog, Luke Kennard. We saw Boston get loose the other day. He's still he's 3K on DK. He's worth a dart, I think.
Yeah. No, he's a pretty solid overall play. I mean, Boston, he's doing pretty well on point per minute basis. He should eat some of the usage without Paul George there. 3K is just too cheap considering his potential upside. He's too cheap. But yeah, the clear and obvious two guys are Reggie Jackson at 5.9K, just far too cheap. He has like a 36% usage rate. Without Paul George, I don't even hate betting the over on his points, which I think are sitting at 18.5. Too low without Paul George in there. Marcus Morris, I already bet the over on his points. It was one of my PrizePicks picks. 13, just too low. He's hit that in 4 of the last 5 games. Didn't get there in the last game, but don't pay attention to sample size. He just happened to shoot 1 for 9 from the field. Was not good. But yeah, you can play Man. Man should be in for over 30 minutes in the spot. You can play Zubac, although he doesn't grade out as the best play at center on the slate. But yeah, just play guys from the Clippers.
I was going to ask you a question, but now I see you're taking a drink. Your thoughts as far as the Phoenix side?
I mean, if Ayton ends up missing, which we might not get that news for a while, McGee at 4K instantly becomes a very good play. Paul is fine. Like Chris Paul is not really changing too much, regardless of who's in there. But 8.3K, especially if Ayton ends up sitting, seems like a decent price tag, but just not overly enthused. I mean, even without Paul George, Clippers are a pretty decent defense. Don't really want to play any of these guys.
And we can actually go ahead and hit out a question. Somebody was asking, do you guys have a lean on if Ayton plays or not?
I believe I answered that when I said, I think 65%.
Well, look at that.
chance
he plays.
60% of the time, it works every time. Wait, he plays every time? 60% of the time.
60% of the time, we hear Grant say it. 40%
100% of the time, he says lost wages when he's referencing Las Vegas. I think he plays, but what do I know? I'm not privy to the medicals, but I think that whatever's out there is suggesting that he plays basketball. And if he plays also, he's kind of interesting. Like nobody's going to play Ayton, just throwing it out there. We talk about, a lot of centers.
Yeah, but is there that game is an hour and a half after the Denver game. So if you're playing Ayton, like who are you swapping to if he doesn't end up playing? Like you can hope that the news comes out an hour and a half before, and still you don't have anyone to swap to. Like you look at the salary.
You swap to JaVale. You're gonna eat some salary, but you swap to JaVale.
Yeah, no, I get that. So I guess like if you're playing Ayton, you probably play Ayton with, I don't know, Morris, and then swap to Jackson and JaVale. Although
utility spots would be helpful. It's trickier on Daniel, obviously.
Yeah, I guess the smart move is going to be pair Ayton with Boston. You're at 10.3K there. Make it work however you can. And if you are going to swap, so 10.3, you would be able to get Jackson and JaVale and only leave 400 on the board.
Yeah, that works. Devin, you have some questions for the people, and also like you probably give a better spiel. You probably can explain it better. I hope I'm explaining it well enough as far as how to get people over to the Discord channel. And we kind of teased about it. I'm not sure we're going to talk about it on air or not. Well, I'm throwing it out there. Is there some kind of giveaways or something we're going to do to entice people to join us in the Discord?
Well, why? My goodness, Dean, that's such a great thing you brought that up. We actually will be doing some things coming down the pipeline. So viewers, stay tuned and get your mouse ready to click the Discord link because you'll want to.
I did ask that question organically, by the way. That wasn't like prompted or whatever. Like, yeah, you know what? As a matter of fact, we have discussed this. Do you have I don't know if I haven't jumped over there. If people are, jumping on just yet, but have you compiled some questions for
I do have. We have a couple of questions, yeah, which is good because we only have 4 minutes, Dean. We can go ahead and jump right in though. Gophers fan DK at the top of the show. He heard us mention Jokic versus Curry in optimal lineups. They said I'm getting neither. So should I be worried?
That's interesting. I have not run an optimal lineup, and I'll do it now. But I would not be shocked if Jokic is not in it, just because the way the slate kind of sets up.
Same with Curry.
There's so much value all over the play. Yeah, like the optimal is probably going to put Porzingis in there. It's kind of Brunson, Brooks, Morris, Collins. Probably Trey is going to be in the optimal over Jokic just because of the way it works out. Probably Bagley, maybe Tatum.
Yeah, and Curry's definitely not in it for the record. Like, there's no way Curry's in an optimal lineup. Just no chance. Doesn't mean you can't play him in tournaments, obviously.
All right. FanDuel tournaments. How many studs are we paying up for? Also, what's good and what's bad chalk on tonight's slate?
Grant, what's the good chalk and bad chalk? I'm going to go ahead and pull up. This is FanDuel specific, right, Devin?
Yes, that was FanDuel specific, and I'll pull it up as well.
The bad chalk on DK is Harrison Barnes.
So on FanDuel, Gary Trent's 32%. Is that good chalk or bad chalk?
What's his price there? Is 5, 6?
I think it's somewhere in the middle.
6K.
Okay. He's 6K. It's fine, but it's not amazing.
It's not bad
chalk.
Fine. Yeah, it's not bad chalk. It's not good chalk.
If Armani Brooks is 37% owned, that might be bad chalk on FanDuel.
On FanDuel,
I think.
Yes.
Yeah. They asked specifically for FanDuel. So I ran a bunch of optimals on FanDuel, and I capped it at 67%, right? No more than 67%. And the guys that are showing up at 67%, Pascal Siakam, John Collins, Gary Trent, Jalen Brunson, Brooks, Lowry, Reggie Jackson, and Jayshawn Tate. So amongst that group, and by the way, let's just go to
Tate is the bad chalk.
So this is kind of cheating, but our number one center is John Collins, but he's of course forward eligible. We have Embiid right behind that, the Triple J, but that of course that whole situation could blow up. We have Jokic in 4% of optimals right now on FanDuel, which seems, wow, that seems weird. That's interesting, but I get it. And as far as DK, we have Collins as our top guy there as well, with Boucher and Embiid and Siakam and Capella. Jokic eventually, but not the number one. He's at 9%. Aiton's at a couple too, for what it's worth.
So if I could put on my blender hat on, we have Jokic at 12% roughly on FanDuel, and he's showing up in optimals 4% of the time.
Yeah,
it seems like that's
it's still a bad play.
Yes, it sounds like that might be a bad play.
But he's still Jokic. Have you seen Jokic play, Devin? He's amazing. But I hear what you're saying. It's kind of interesting. But he's also, he's got the ceiling to put up 75, 80, and nobody would be surprised. And as far as the studs, it seemed like a kind of a balance build over there in FanDuel. I'm sorry, Devin, you had another question, I'm sure.
Nope, it's all good. Flores Mark wants to know, Dean, just kind of, off the top of your dome here, do you happen to know how old Triple J is?
He's no longer 19. I think he's probably 22 to 20. He's probably 23 now.
I think 22 or 23.
23.
But I'm almost certain you would know better.
According to Blink-182.
I only want you. He's 22.
Nice.
He turned 22 not too long ago.
He's not 23. He's just 22. Okay.
Just 22.
Barely old enough to drink.
Wig also wants to know how much Brunson do we need along the talk of what's chalk good and bad. How much should I have?
I'd probably go 100%.
He's delicious chalk, right? I cannot see myself not playing him. I'll be over the 60%.
What flavor chalk would be delicious chalk?
I don't know.
Tums.
Tums chalk? All right.
Tums are chalk.
And that's about all the time we have here, Dean. We are up against the clock here, so yeah.
What is coming up next? Why are we up against the clock here? Was there something is in our show coming?
There is. There's premium NBA Crunch Time starring Kevin Roth, Andy Means, and Dan Gaspar.
How would I go about watching that?
You could find yourself on the Rotogrinders videos page, or you can also listen in for free, or not for free, but if you have a premium subscription on the RG app. We have an audio-only feed there, so.
There you go. You're just right on top of it, answering all my questions.
Well, Dean,
Do you know what
I've been
Jaren
doing this for a
Jackson
while.
Jr.'s middle name is?
It's got to be a J, like Jonathan.
It's Walter.
With a J?
Oh, I never would have got there.
With a J?
Otherwise, he'd be Quad J.
Silent J. Yeah. Well, that's important stuff. That we want to end on a high note, and I think we did, Grant. You got anything else for the people before you step aside and get out of here and make way for crunch time?
Nope, I'm out of here.
Enjoy Las Vegas, Grant. Get yourself a better room. I thought you knew people. I used to respect. I think you had some clout.
I mean, it's a suite.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Get a room
But
with
the
a
fourth
brush
floor.
in it next time.
Get a mug. Ask housekeeping for like a glass. Maybe is that available?
Extra shampoo
I
bottles.
asked them, I just don't want them.
Extra shampoo bottles that you can take home with you.
Oh, he will be stealing those for sure. Oh, like right on, he's gonna finish the bottle right on cue. Good timing. He rationed it out appropriately. Rotogrinders.com/Discord. Join that our NBA channel, our daily channel for free. If you guys are not premium members, of course, if you are, there are a bunch of premium channels as well. Do hit your like button on the way out. We appreciate y'all watching. It helps us out with the old algorithm. That was Devin producing. That was Grant in Lost Wages. That was basketball. I was Dean. Thanks for watching. We're out of here. Over.
See you, kids.